First thing is to watch for the subscriber growth, which always investors are very interested in hearing about, right? So the guidance suggests a acceleration of subscriber growth this quarter. We saw a little bit of a slowdown last quarter. Second thing is, I think the international expansion.
That's the whole story.
Exactly. Last quarter, we saw the first-time profits in the international segment. This quarter, they're guiding to a modest loss, but more importantly, I think is going to be how they are gaining traction in some of the most recently launched markets. And lastly, I might add, cash burn is always something to watch.
So I was going to ask you, do you care about cash burn? Do you care about how much they're spending on content these days? Or do you say to yourself, they have so many Emmy nominations that came out last week, you know what, we'll take it and use that as market. Put that in the marketing budget.
You know, I think that, you know, you always care about content, right? You know, they're spending a lot. That's a given. Talking about the return on investment, you can justify that in terms of the traction that they're getting. You talk about the Emmys, right? You see how they're closing ground on HBO. I think investors are starting to get a sense that Netflix is becoming more disciplined in terms of their content. You're seeing them pull the plugs on shows that are not working. Overall, I think that much as content remains elevated, you can justify, you know, the traction they're getting in original content, the marketing related to that, the publicity and Emmy nominations and things of that nature.
How important is it to just build big and make sure, when there's so many other places that are getting into content these days, how important is it to still be front of mind with consumers constantly?
Becky, I think that it's getting a lot more difficult to break through the clutter, right? So it's not just you know, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, everyone is ratcheting up their content spending. And we're seeing that continuing to grow. So I think to the extent that content and selected content is important for branding, I think it's going to help to distinguish and differentiate you know, these services. And I think we see the race now shaping up between the so-called haves and the have-nots, right? And content is going to be the main differentiator. So you think about the haves, you know, the leading streaming services over the top, you know, second tier, you know, CBS, Showtime, HBO, and then you've got all the niche players that are going to, at some point, to congregate over, you know, around what content availability dictates.
So Reed Hastings, and I think he was joking, but he really shouldn't have been, said his biggest competition is sleep. You remember that comment? He says that's who we're competing against.
Right.
Who do you think? Do you look at Amazon as the single biggest competitor, or is it the traditional players, the HBOs of the world? And where does Hulu or something like that fit in here?
I think, you know, the major players are not only competing against themselves head-to-head increasingly, but also against alternative forms of, you know, entertainment out there. So don't forget that, you know, pay TV, traditional, is still by and large the largest, you know, platform for television viewing out there. That remains a viable competitor. But overall, I think you're going to see the competition more head-to-head.
We got to go. You can just yes or no it. You want them to clean up the password situation? So many kids, 18 to 24, are now using each other's passwords on these services.
I got to tell you,
is that a good thing or a bad? Maybe it's just great marketing.
Password sharing is something a company has swept under the rug, but I believe that it's becoming more and more of an issue now that the company is kind of reaching that tipping point in terms of the international versus domestic. That could be more of an issue in the international markets.
Hey there, thanks for checking out CNBC on YouTube. Be sure to subscribe to stay up to date on all of the day's biggest stories. You can also click on any of the videos around me to watch the latest from CNBC. Thanks for watching.